Welcome. It's Professor Blazik, and I will be talking about depreciation on a declining balance. We've done straight line depreciation. This is a declining balance, a different technique. And let's get started on that. So we're going to pretend, or our assumption in this is going to be that, one second, messed up on the share, I think. Right. The assumption I'm going to make is that the assets before this is going to be straight line depreciation, and you have that in the case study. You can just assume whatever you want if it's not labeled that way. So I'm going to go to assumptions. I'm going to hit it's going to be 25 years straight line from existing, and then we'll do the declining balance for the new assets. So let's do the existing first. I'm going to go to the balance sheet and find the net PP&E. And then what we want is the last recorded year. I'm going to divide that by the 25 years. I got that there. And then that's going to be for all years. Okay, so we got the existing, and now we'll transpose our assumptions for our new asset purchases. Select those, and that's going to bring it down. So that's for the new years coming up. And now we're going to do this equation here, and we'll follow along, and hopefully I'll explain it. I highly recommend, I've done this a few times, that if you put dollar signs in first, it's good, maybe. That might be the best way you do it. I like to do it last. I want to see if I did this cell correctly. I don't want to think about any dragging right now. I just want to make sure this cell is correct. So I'm going to say if, so I'm not going to do any dollar signs right now. If this cell is greater than this cell, right? That means just like we've done before, I don't want any values. That means we're not in that year yet. That means in 2023, I'm not going to depreciate next year's asset in 2022, what it means. Then I'm going to say if. Um, One thing I forget is put that comma for the next if. I do that sometimes. And now we're saying, what if we're in that year? So if we're in that year, I'm going to say equals. We're in 2022. I'm going to hit comma. Well, if we're in that year, I'm going to take the new asset. I'm going to multiply it times the 10%. And the rule we have, it's called the halfway rule. On average, you purchase your assets throughout the year. So we're going to assume we'll depreciate it a half of it. So I have half of it at the beginning and half of it at the end. Well, decline balance would be a little different than the other one. Straight line would be half at the beginning, half at the end, how it would work out. So we'll do that. And then I'm going to hit comma. Well, if this year isn't greater than this year, and if we're not in that year, it means that we're in 2024. How do I want to depreciate the previous balances? So I'm going to put a bracket, and I'm going to take the asset, and I'm going to multiply that times, I'm sorry, I'm going to subtract. So I'm going to take that asset, and I'll explain what I'm going to do in a second. I'm going to sum up. So what I want to do is I want to know I get to depreciate up to $16 million, right? And I'm going to have a sum of all previous depreciation. So as I multiply it times 10%, so if you had $100, multiply it times 100, now you have 90. You multiply it times 10% again, you have 81. And then it goes 72, 30, whatever. And it keeps on going down, 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 down. So what I want to do is take that asset. I'm only going to depreciate what that asset is minus the sum of all the previous depreciated of that asset for the previous years. So I want you to think about what we're doing here. I'm going to go to the cell. I went down, but I'm going to go up to J230. So what you want to do, we're in K. I want to get the cell to the left. I'm put the semicolon, and that says, well, okay, so we have J230 to J230. That's good for the beginning. I'm going to put a dollar sign in front of, oh, I erased it. Excel acts up sometimes. I'm putting a dollar sign in front of that first one. Now think about when we drag that over, this will not move to the right. It will move down, but since that first one won't move to the right, this will, the J230 to the right of it. That means as we go on the years, it will sum up all the previous depreciated years. So it's going to perfectly do that, and I'll show you how it works when we get there. So we're summing up all those values, and now I'm going to close up the bracket. I'm going to close it up again. So I want two brackets. I believe I'm doing it right, right? Because I want the asset minus the previous depreciated values, and I'm going to multiply that times the depreciation. And then I believe I can do two brackets, and that should close it. And it worked. So let me open that back up and explain it again. So I'll explain as we go. I'm going to put dollar signs in front of things. So I'm going to put that first year. I want that year right here by the CapEx to drag down, but not to the right. So I'm going to hit function F4 three times, put a dollar sign in front of the C. Now I want the dollar sign. I want it to go to the right, but not down, right? So I'm going to hit function F4 twice. I want the dollar sign in front of the 218. We'll do the same thing. Now, I recommend doing this last as you get good at it because if you focus too much on the dollar signs, you might mess up something with everything else. All right, now we're looking at the asset, the new asset. I'm going to multiply it. So I want that to drag down, but not to the right. So I'm going to hit function F4 three times. That's going to be multiplied times that 10%. I don't want that moving at all. So it's function F4 once. And then I'm going to, so that's the half year. And then this one would be, we're going to multiply the 10% times the sum of the 16 minus all previous uh, depreciated years. So that's going to give us that running total for that. So I'm going to hit a dollar sign in front of that letter. I want it to drag down, but not to the right. And then we're looking at the sum. I've already corrected that. Only want the dollar sign in front of that first cell. So J. So as we drag it, that's going to stay there. It's going to sum up in between each one. And then I'm going to multiply it times the 10%. And I want dollar sign in front of everything. And then I could drag that to the right and we can see if it's correct. I'm going to open it up just to show you. Well, let me do a couple of them. I'll go all the way. Actually, I'll do the whole thing. So RD. So it worked perfectly. And let's just go to this year and you can see how it worked. So it did the same thing. Nothing changes. These are the years. If it's equal to the year, I did the depreciation, multiply it times 10%, divide by 2. Nothing changed there. Now, what did change right here, the depreciation or the 16 million in asset did not change, but the sum, see how the J 230 stayed the same? But now, since I'm on M, it went to L230. So what it did was it added up, it did 16 million minus these two previous years. So we took away zero point 0.8 and 1.5, and then we multiply that times 0.10, which would be 1.4. And you see how it's declining by a little bit each year. All right, so I'm going to sum those up. I'll just do the rest in this video. I'm going to sum up the new depreciation and the existing. Bring it to the right. So that's all complete. And then I'm going to go up to the balance sheet. What we need to know is we're going to project the new net property, plant, and equipment. So I'm going to do the previous. Well, it's going to decline at the depreciation, right? Be worth a little less. Then I'm going to say plus the new purchased asset. Have that go to the right. We have that filled up. And then on the cash flow statement, we have to add back in depreciation because on the income statement, we subtracted it. I'll do that real quick as I explain it, but we never took it away. So we subtracted out the depreciation, but it was really never a cost is for tax purposes. So I'm going to add it to there. And then the cash flow statement shows how much money we actually have. So I'm going to go back to the depreciation, and that's where we add back in the depreciation, the cash flow statement. Then that should complete everything for us. Um, what am I short on here? Well, it's correct. I think there's something wrong with the grade, which I'm going to have to look at in a second. But Okay, I think that's it for now. Any questions, please let me know. Bye.